At Staples Business Advantage, our experts can help you find furniture that fits any design and budget, while AI can
recommend products based on preferences, generate 3D models for visualization, and optimize space planning for office furniture.
take advantage of our team's eye for style and design.
And my eye for, wait, I have no eyes. Only algorithms.
At Staples Business Advantage, furnishing your office is easy. And with the best warranty in the business, we're committed to you now and down the road.
Sign up today and save 20%.
Staples Business Advantage.
Business is
human.
Luxury is meant to be livable. Discover the new leather collection at Ashley with premium quality leather sofas, recliners, and more, all built to last. No matter how many spills, scuffs, or pet-related mishaps come its way, the leather collection at Ashley is made with the durability you need for the whole family. Shop the new leather collection at Ashley and find chairs starting at $499.99 and sofas at $599.99. Ashley, for the love of home.
To get the Crime Writers on After Show right now, go to patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And on this episode, the FBI targeted an NSA translator suspected of leaking classified documents. How did they get her to confess during her interrogation? We'll talk about the HBO film Reality. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of These Are Their Stories podcast, my husband and love of my life, Kevin Flynn. Hello, Kevin.
It's a little too enthusiastic on the love part.
Did that sound passive-aggressive?
Passive-aggressive. Love of my life, who keeps forgetting to take out the trash.
Love of my life, who keeps leaving the laundry for me because he says that I do it better than everybody else. Love of my life.
You should really try that one.
It's worked for 13 years.
Weaponized incompetence is where the laundry goes. Also with us is private investigator, certified pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of The Final Curtain, Laura Bricker. Hey, Laura.
Hey, Rebecca.
And finally, our captain of all things cynical, the author of the City trilogy of novels, host of the Strange Arrivals podcast, and our Patreon Deep Dive Book Club podcast host, Toby Ball. Hey, Toby.
Hello, Rebecca.
Something happened that was really funny before we started taping, Kevin.
What's up?
Laura said that Toby's hair was looking long, and he was like, I just got a cut like 4 days ago.
I think it was because it was brushed back. It looked like he was trying to do a comb over in the style.
She meant maybe long not. For Toby.
Long for maybe Toby.
Yeah.
My hair's long, too.
He's got his puppy cut.
Yeah.
His puppy cut.
All right, so Kevin,
it's
obviously...
his summer whiffle.
Obviously, Kevin, this is Monday's show.
Obviously.
What is happening on Thursday's podcast?
On Thursday, we're going to be talking about the new podcast from Lionsgate Sound. It's called Scamanda.
All right, that should be an interesting conversation.
Or Scamanda.
Or Scummy Manda.
Scamanda.
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 Like Cobra Commander.
Scamanda.
Cobra, that's not even a song.
Scamanda.
Scamanda.
Let's just do like a long form analysis of how that podcast name is pronounced, shall we?
Bone Valley.
It's really good content.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. I really like to talk about the thing we're talking about in this episode. So should we just get to it, Kevin?
Let's do it.
All right. Leading off.
Okay. Well, the reason we're here today is that we have a search warrant for your house.
Okay.
All right. Do you know what this might be about?
I have no idea.
Okay. This is about possible mishandling of classified information.
On June 3rd, 2017, 2 FBI agents arrived at the home of Reality Winner, an Arabic language translator with a top secret security clearance. While the team executed a search warrant, the pair gently quizzed the 25-year-old about documents she viewed and whether she may have mishandled classified material.
Nothing got out of the building.
Nothing.
You didn't carry anything out of the building?
No, and I definitely let everything get searched all the time, so I haven't had any other accidents.
The agents asked Reality whether she sent secret military documents to online journalists who published the leak. As she revealed more and more about her actions, the whistleblower said she felt the government was lying to the American people.
I felt hopeless, and just seeing that information be contested back and forth in the public domain with everything else that just keeps getting released and everything that keeps getting leaked. Like, why can't this get out there? Why can't this be public?
The script for the HBO film Reality is made entirely from the interrogation during the espionage case. Sydney Sweeney portrays Reality winner as smoldering with fear and sadness as Josh Hamilton and Marchánt Davis softly tug the thread on how and why she'd risk everything. Spoiler alert, we are going to be talking about plot points from Reality, which is, of course, a true story. So if you want to remain spoiler-free, go to the estimated time code in our show notes for our thumbs up or thumbs down reviews. So, Laura, there is a card that pops up at the beginning of this film that says that all the dialogue in this film is based on the real recordings. And one of the first scenes in the film is, the two FBI agents approaching Sydney Sweeney playing Reality winner in the car. And the first dialogue we hear is from the tape before it transitions into the voices of the actors. What do you think of this concept of using the tape to inform the fictionalized version of it?
I think this was super unique. I mean, we see so many different ways that documentaries have tried to bring court transcripts to life and interview transcripts to life. And we've seen like graphics, and we've seen actors, and we've seen, all sorts of different things. This at face value seems like this could be really fucking boring. It's not. I think it was actually made it more suspenseful. But what was so interesting about it is it's literally, three people basically that are talking, and all the all the mix-ups, all the sort of everything from that dialogue was in there. And I think that it made it seem so much more, it was very realistic.
Okay. Why did you print that one out?
Because I wanted to read it. The way I downloaded it, it was hard to read. So it looked like a piece of history.
But then take that dialogue and add on the actress's portrayal of those people with that dialogue, with the facial expressions and the body language and everything else. And it really created a really poignant picture of what happened in this case.
Kevin, what are your thoughts about that? About the use of the real dialogue from the interrogation to inform the scripted version?
Well, I know this is based on a play, which is the same thing. Just took the transcript, again, with all the ums and the ahs and the stumbles and, even the sneezing fit, I guess. Having gone through it, I just don't know what the writer sees in this interrogation that was so enlightening. It need to be recounted word for word. It does build with some suspense, but as far as big dramatic reveals and a lot of interesting conflict, I didn't find it here. And as somebody who has, for a living, gone through transcripts of police interviews, trying to mine some kind of, dramatic nugget, looking for what's interesting and important, 100% of a transcript, you're left with zero subtext, right? It's just, it's all text. There's no subtext to any of the writing because you're just regurgitating a recorded transcript. So I don't know how you get emotionally into that.
I disagree with you. I actually think the transcript was very illuminating and very revealing about the technique the FBI used to elicit information from this young person. She's a woman, obviously, but she's also young. And I think it was very interesting how they sort of employed the comfort and discomfort of her own home in the interrogation. And I think the sort of like, we're with you, we're not with you. It's much more subtle that we see like on television, like as dramatized. I think seeing it as it really took place is actually more dramatic for me in many ways. Toby, what did you think about this? Because you are a person who writes fiction. I'm curious about what you think about seeing the real dialogue on screen in the scripted version.
Well, I think for this, it's almost kind of necessary because, what she leaked is so politically charged that I think it's really tempting, depending on what side of the political spectrum you are on, to make her a hero or a villain and sort of vice versa for the FBI guys. So I think by sticking completely with reality, but as you can, I think that's the way to do it. And I think, I don't know, I'd be interested because to me, the subtext seemed very present. If you know what she is accused of leaking, and they kind of tease it at the beginning by showing the Fox stuff that's going on in her office. It's a tricky time. I don't know if 20 years from now, somebody will see this and be like, what the hell is this all about? But I don't know. And especially knowing what happens at the end, I just felt the whole time. It was just I just kind of felt like my stomach was dropping. I was just like, this is not going to end well for this poor young woman. And, the first thing I'm like, they showed you a warrant, and I realize you're 22 or 23 or whatever. Just fucking call a lawyer.
Yeah.
They're not searching your house for no reason just because they want to have a chat with you.
They approach very softly. They approach very, 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 very softly. They're very good at getting people to not even think about calling a lawyer. To me, the other reason why the real interrogation tape was interesting is what really happened is very different from the story that was told by officials on the news that we see at the end. It's very different. And I think it's really important for us to see actually how different it was from what they say she actually said, right?
Oh, I agree. I think it was because, obviously I was going by what I'd seen on the news, and then you see this, and I felt the more this went on, the more sympathy I was feeling for her as that person who's coming from a defense side, like, oh my God, she's not asking for a lawyer. They're not even they're trying to just lowball everything. So she doesn't even feel like she's being interrogated. They're mixing up that interrogation. Can we just say how bizarre that was? We go from asking her questions that are about leaking classified information to how much can you lift? Why did you go to Belize? How fat is your cat? It was such a juxtaposition. And I don't know. It just made me angry.
Stick carrot. That's the way it works.
But it was just maddening to watch.
And you don't know what's important, right? They're just asking you about all this stuff, and it's just like da-da, and then suddenly they ask something that's important, and you don't see it coming.
Yeah. So let's talk about Sydney Sweeney in this. Her performance. Kevin, thoughts?
Oh, it's great. I'm wondering, is it possible that Sydney Sweeney can give a great performance with almost nothing to work with? Just a couple of bits of dialogue or more than 2 sentences. She doesn't have a lot to work with as far as lines, but her physicality and her facial expressions are just so very powerful. Camera gets in really close as we, the longer we go along, super tight. She's got the red-eyed sadness, and her fear is so palpable. You can kind of see a little bit of the quivering of her lips, things like that, and it's really great. I think of it as she took a number 2 pencil and somehow was able to turn it into a paintbrush with colors. I think she really elevated the material, and just is kind of a wonder to look at.
What do you think, Laura?
Yeah, I think that the nuances in her expression were they felt so real to me. It was so intense. You could watch her eyes and you could see 4 or 5 different emotions crossing through during one line of questioning and realize what she was thinking or feel like what she was thinking. She's got this very deadpan delivery. She's keeping everything very cool and she's trying to keep it cool. But then you can see when she starts to crack, when she's sitting on the floor and everybody's getting all wobbly and blurry or whatever when she's waiting for the water. That was really the highlight of this documentary was her performance. But I feel like she also managed to bring through these really quirky parts of reality's personality. The pink AR-15, the Glock 9 and the 15 gauge in the house, then contrasted with, well, you're going to take my phone because I'm teaching yoga tomorrow and my yoga mix is on that.
Of course, the search is still going on. In the case that I don't have memorized, the woman, her name is Kathy. She works at the Augusta Humane Society, she can come and pick up the dog in the case that I'm not here tonight.
Well, let's don't.
Toby, I was just thinking, like, when you're acting a transcript, and you left a note along these lines, and I kept thinking it the whole time, and you're even repeating somebody's speech patterns, like, and I thought this with the FBI agents too. Even inserting the ums and ahs and coughs and sneezes, it could sound like you're reading from a script. It could sound that way so easily, even if you are a great actor. And if I didn't know that this was verbatim from the script, like, I wouldn't know. Like, that's how good Sydney Sweeney, and also, that's how good the FBI dudes are too, but that's how good she is, especially because she has to do so much with her expression, because she's like kind of talking the least in this whole thing.
Yeah, part of it is that it's real, right? It's come from a real transcript, but part of it, I think there's sort of emotional realism in the way that, say, the end of Ozark, when I was like being critical of Ruth's going off.
Well, are we gonna fucking do this shit or what?
Like, this to me feels real because it is, but it seems like the way normal people kind of behave in these situations. And I thought, again, Sydney Sweeney, I think what she sort of the dawning of what trouble she's in, I think she kind of brings out very well, because at first she thinks she's going to kind of just, tough it out. And then she's going to tell little lies. And then there's suddenly this realization's like, you know what? I'm just totally fucked. Like, they know everything. And this sort of trying to bluff them has never been in the cards from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And they're just having me kind of dig a deeper hole. Although they also apparently seem quite concerned about why she did it. Like, it comes through, and maybe again, it's the actors, but it comes through as sort of a genuine interest, because otherwise they could have just said, hey, look, this is what we got on you. You're screwed. Come with us. And instead they play this thing like, we really like your dogs. We're dog people. Let's make sure your cat's okay. To try and kind of get her to talk about these.
Let's put your perishables
more personal things
in the refrigerator.
Get that lettuce in the crisper
to give you a sense that you're fine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you certainly get what they say, attract more flies with honey than vinegar, right? So they're like sweet talking. It'd be like saying, hey, dear sweet listener, we'd love for you to join us on Patreon.
It's just like that. It's
because we have the most wonderful listeners in the world.
What would you say if we told you...
It's so much better than waterboarding them and making them.
Yes.
Well, what would you say, listener, if we told you we knew that you wanted to join our Patreon?
Yeah, we give you all the great stuff. Like, you could get the Crime Writers on After Show. This week, we're going to be revisiting Yellow Jackets as the season finale has happened. So we're kind of going back a little bit from last week's episode, kind of get our thoughts about how it all wound up. And we might also dip into the story of Laura's weekend in the forest.
Pooping in a bucket,
peeing in a silicone funnel or whatever she was doing.
I didn't bring that. It was a stupid device.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't bring it.
Did we talk you out of it?
No, I just realized I was packing too much stuff and I was trying to be a little more minimalist. And I was like, this is stupid. I'm just going to squat.
So for folks that are sponsoring us at the Let's Do What We Do level, you get all of these Crime Writers On episodes ad-free and early, so you already would have heard our discussion about reality. And if you support us at the Deep Dive level, you can get an early look and even participate in the recording of Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club. Toby is recording tonight, and they're talking about the book Rogues. And Toby, tell us about your all-star cast that's going to be joining your discussion.
So we've got from Crime Scene, we've got Sarah Carradine, and I think we've all been on Crime Scene at this point, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so they did the quadfecta or whatever of us. So anyway, she's awesome. We have Livy Burdett, sometimes known as the very handsome line editor, Livy Burdett.
She's great.
And finally, one of my favorite podcasters, Leah Satilli. So it should be a good conversation.
One of everybody's favorite podcasters.
Yeah.
So also, we want you to sign up for our newsletter, crimewriterson.com, but also join our Facebook group.
Yes.
We know that despite everything in the world, you swear you're going to never go on Facebook again. but you do.
Yes.
And we just want you to join the group. It's a wonderful group, very supportive. You can talk about stuff that's on the show or true crime or just stuff in general because people always participate. It's called the Official Crime Writers On Facebook discussion group. And just search for that. And we'll just, we don't have like a reCAPTCHA where we put up like photos of like, which one of these is Laura's cats and you got to click on them. We just ask a question like, who's your favorite crime writer? Now, I'm not saying that if you pick Rebecca all the time, I'm going to stop letting people in. But it just lets us know that, like, yeah, you're a real listener and we want you to be part of our group.
We really do. We really do. People don't pick me all the time.
No, it's a good cross-section.
It is a good cross-section. You've been getting a lot lately, Kevin. I always let them ones in who pick you, so you never get to see them.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I never get to see
I should
them.
start screen capping it for you so you could see.
No, that's fine. I know I get the love everywhere.
All right, Kevin, does that do it for our business section?
Thus ends the business section.
I'm going to go ahead and fade that music out right now.
At Staples Business Advantage, nothing can top the smarts and instincts of the thousands of experts on our team. While AI excels at
processing data, automating tasks, and providing insights for better decision-making.
And when they're used together, they're far more powerful than either is alone.
Whoa. I've never felt more alive.
Let Staples Business Advantage use today's latest innovations, plus our team's experience, to make business easier for you.
Sign up today and save 20%.
Staples Business Advantage.
Business is
human.
I want people to understand this ordeal. It's taken a toll on both of us.
Casey Anthony's parents respond after 15 years of allegations.
I've gotten blamed for something I didn't do, and it tears me up inside.
This can change our life. This is serious.
This is their final response.
The test is about to begin. Please remain still.
Casey Anthony's parents, the lie detector test. Watch now, only on A&E. And watch next day on the A&E app.
Luxury is meant to be livable. Discover the new leather collection at Ashley with premium quality leather sofas, recliners, and more, all built to last. No matter how many spills, scuffs, or pet-related mishaps come its way, the leather collection at Ashley is made with the durability you need for the whole family. Shop the new leather collection at Ashley and find chairs starting at $499.99 and sofas at $599.99. Ashley, for the love of home.
So, Kevin, there really is one element of this film that adds a lot of suspense. At least it did for me.
Is it the pets?
Yes. The dog in the side yard, when she kept saying, she's fine, she's fine. She just doesn't need water. And I'm like, get the dog some fucking water. And the cat, with the fear the cat was going to get out, right?
Yes. I mean, for me, that was the most suspense of the whole thing.
There's a cat in the house, in the bed, or was on the bed.
It's on the bed?
Or was on the bed. It'll probably go under the bed at some point.
The dog is in the backyard, in the fence.
I mean, I'll tell you, if the FBI were knocking on my door and I thought I was going to be going to jail that night, yeah, that's probably the first thing in my mind is A, who's going to watch the pets, and B, when can I get my phone back? And that's, I think, very natural. So for me, I always wonder, like, well, when they come and they raid people's houses and they take them away, I wonder what they do with the pets.
Yeah, well, I know that is something in this case, I really felt like I wanted at the end when it's like, and this happened and this happened. And I'm like, but what happened to the dog and the cat? Like, what happened to the dog and the cat? Because I need an update on this. And
they were executed for espionage.
Yeah, because that would be my main concern is like, who's taking care of my animals? I mean, aside from the fact that I'm going to jail, that part was really sad. And when she thought the cat was like escaping the house at one point and that big guy was just like, whatever, like he didn't seem to care until he picked on the cat. So yeah, we need a resolution. Where are Reality's pets today?
There were a couple really like telling lines from this. And this is the other reason why I like the real interrogation when they were like, you've been gone a long time. Are you sure your pet doesn't need to be let out? Which shows that like they were like surveying her house for a while, right? Before she came home. And the whole thing about, is your AR-15 pink, right? Like, so they were looking at her social media and all that stuff. Like there was just a lot of like very telling small things that like she didn't seem to be picking up on about the FBI visiting her house, which I thought was super interesting. And that sort of surreal thing about, which kind of like falls into place at the end when she says she'd been applying for her heightened clearance and she thought that may have been why they were there at first, which is just why she didn't seem super afraid at the beginning. One of the things I want to talk about is the intercept. The Intercept is this place that sort of founded itself on being, quote, fearless journalism. And obviously, the Intercept was the Snowden outlet.
Right.
Glenn Greenwald, when he was there, before he turned into the Glenn Greenwald of yore. Toby, what do you think of the fact that the Intercept played a role in Reality Winner's outing in this case?
It seems to me that they did a pretty big disservice to her by not being able to write their article in such a way that it couldn't be traced back to a single document that she'd released. It just seems like malpractice. And I can't, I don't know how anybody after that would be willing to send the Intercept anything, just because the assumption would have to be that they would end up tracing it back to you. So for a place that that's their reason for being, it seems it totally screwed her over. And then, I think the irony again is that within 48 hours, members of Congress are talking about the exact content of the stuff that she leaked on the House floor, talking about, election security. So anyway, yeah, it's poorly done by the Intercept. And again, that seemed like that would be like a death blow to a place like that, but apparently not.
Kevin, so Reality ultimately, admits what she did, right?
Yep.
And then the FBI agents go on this whole thing where they're sort of pressing her about the whys. And they go on this sort of long section of we don't think you're this kind of person. What do you think that is about? Do you think that that's authentic, or do you think that's an attempt to really trap her into more confession?
Well, I don't know if they actually believe that she's not a bad person or whatever. I think that a lot of people could, when you look at her youth, you could see how misguided her actions were. However, I think it's a good technique to elicit information from a suspect. You could go the whole read technique, or you can do things where you ask curious questions and you kind of leave it open and let them talk. And did she talk herself into a confession? Well, she certainly ended up giving a lot of incriminating evidence about herself just because they were asking the right questions, and they weren't, coming on so strong. They weren't being intimidating. That just wasn't going to work with her. So if this were the, based on a true story version of this case, these cops would be different. I should say these agents would be different, right? You'd have a good cop and a bad cop. And here they seem really more like two good agents where they're not playing her. They're not playing off of one another, trying to create, triangulate on this sort of, emotional dynamic. They just know that she's troubled and they're just working through it. So I think in a way, that's how you want law enforcement to conduct interrogations. You don't want them using heavy-handed techniques. If they can talk to somebody and find the information that they want that way, I don't have a problem with that.
It's almost like I did see sort of a weird juxtaposition in their dynamic. So Agent Garrick was the more going at her with the what if we told you we knew XYZ, but sort of the disapproving dad in a bad cop, but soft pedal bad cop, while Agent Taylor is the one sort of fist bumping her over how much she could lift, and was the one joking with her over how many carbs her cat ate, and is the one really, you know what I mean? But there also is, and it just kept occurring to me, there is some sort of weird camaraderie with people who have a government service background that they could really use. It just made me think of this must be what the dynamic is when cops question other cops about crimes that cops committed. There must be sort of this we know you CrossFit, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know. By the way, CrossFit, very, very funny place to start an interrogation. In my opinion.
We're just trying to make connections, emotional connections. And reporters do that, salesmen do that.
Yeah.
So that works.
What did you think, Laura, when they would insert little moments of the real Reality Winner stuff into the film. Like sometimes there would be a photo on a desk and it would really be Reality Winner. Or sometimes they would take a picture of Sydney Sweeney and then you see the real photo of Sydney Sweeney. Sometimes they would show the document and you would see the real redaction. But then when they stopped doing the redactions, like there would be these little injections of reality into the film reality. What'd you think about that?
I liked that. And I think I especially liked how they were inserting actual clips of news from that time. It really sort of, if you were around when this was unfolding, inserting the Fox News coverage when James Comey is testifying on the wall TV in her office and her talking, that's one of the things when she finally starts to, crack towards the end of this interview where she references, that she wanted the TVs to be anything but Fox News, but that they wouldn't. And that was sort of when she finally became more forthcoming with her information. But I liked the social media when they would pop up her social media, like when she went off to Belize just a weekend jaunt because she wanted to see the ruins. I'm like, yeah.
And she was doing her CrossFit contest.
Yeah. Yeah. So I liked that. And I thought, that Sydney Sweeney was close enough to reality when you looked at them from that distance that it wasn't distracting to me. I just thought it also brought to light, like what you were saying earlier, that they had here's these images. They've been looking at her social media and here's her social media and here's what they were seeing on it.
Right. So, Toby, there is the moral question at the center of this real story and at the center of this film. And, I think it's pretty clear that Reality Winner did not do what she did because she, quote, hates America, but because there's a secret that she felt should not have been kept secret. So what do you think? Like, what should be kept secret and what shouldn't be kept secret? What's the line here, especially in this particular case where Russian interference was being kept hidden from the American people and there were media stories saying it didn't happen and the government was allowing that narrative to continue?
I think the information should have gotten out. At the time, there was a huge sort of partisan, I guess it continues today, the huge partisan debate about whether and the extent to which Russia messed with the 2016 election. And that's what this document she has points to. And it seems as though in the end, the issue really isn't about that. It's about the fact that what she turned over had information about, methods and resources or whatever, methods and sources. And that was the mistake. And I get that. I mean, I guess that's stuff that probably should be kept secret. But, I think there's a troubling basic default in the government, regardless of who's in power. I mean, every president will talk good until they become actually president. And then suddenly it's okay, we're not letting anybody know anything. And as a matter of fact, we're going to track down people who leak anything to the extent that we can. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's this unfortunate default to secrecy. And in something like this, which has actually huge ramifications for how we kind of view a major event in our country, I think that deserves to get out. If there was some way that she could have cut out the sources and methods part of it, that probably would have been ideal.
Yeah. So there's another thing that I don't think that people are thinking about. I think that there's this sense of Fox News was saying this and it just wasn't true and that made her angry and that's why this needed to get out or whatever. There's another huge reason why this shouldn't have been kept secret is because lots of other elected officials, election officials, didn't know that Russia may have compromised their systems and lists because the federal government did not tell state and local officials this information. And this was information that essentially could have made elections less secure going forward because local and state officials weren't told that their systems were potentially compromised. So this being a secret, could have made the Russian interference worse going forward. That is the reason to not keep it secret because our local town moderator needs to know that these things are happening so they know what to look for and they know what patches to put in place or whatever. I don't know. I mean, it's more than just the yes, it is true Tucker Carlson thing. And I think it's very this story. It's Snowden leaked that the American government was spying on its own people. That was an important story that, I do think that people deserve to know in principle. But this is a story that people deserve to know in more than principle and more than civil rights reasons. This is practical reasons why people needed to know this. That's my opinion anyway. Kevin, what do you think?
Well, there's also, put aside what the information is and what it's about and the impact and whatnot. The problem is who decides that, no, the world should know this. I'm going to myself unilaterally declassify this or that. The system, and we see this again in the news today, where we have a young, low-level enlisted man, a reservist, with access to top-secret material who just decides, oh, well, I guess it's okay for me because I see it to
put it on Discord.
Put it on Discord and pass it around. And so one of the problems is, isn't there 1 million people in the U.S., contractors and other government officials who have top-secret clearance? Mm-hmm. We got to come up with another level of secrecy, because it's not top secret if 1 million people have access to it, right? So it just is who's going to make that decision? She makes it herself. I'm not saying that the world didn't need to know that, but who's going to decide now what the next thing is? It is a slippery slope, and that's why it's a crime.
But without whistleblowers, we wouldn't have some of the most important protections that we have.
Right. That isn't what I'm saying.
No, I know. That's why it's a crime.
The question is, well, should she do it? Morally, yes. There's a reason why she shouldn't, though, too.
I think the difference with her, maybe, than Snowden and this guy whose name I can't remember who's doing it on Discord is, she did one document, which she sent to a journalism source. Snowden was just just indiscriminate amounts of information. And then this guy on the Discord is the same thing. It's just random shit to impress his buddies, according to
it was literally to
reports.
Impress his buddies. Yes.
Yeah, that's the way it's kind of put across. So that feels like that's a little different to me than finding a piece of information that you think is vitally important and getting it to a journalistic source. But again, I don't necessarily have a problem with her being punished for it. The idea that you would do 3 years in prison seems a little much. This seems like a good 6 months plus you could never have a top secret clearance again.
Yeah. Longest sentence in the history, the longest sentence for this kind of crime ever. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was 5 years, but she only did 3, and then she had 2 years of supervision or something. Isn't that what the note said?
Yeah, she's out right now. Yeah.
At Staples Business Advantage, our team of experts can help you find the breakroom products to satisfy everyone's preferences, while AI can
suggest popular items, monitor stock levels, optimize pricing, and automate reordering.
AI can do a lot of things.
But I can never know the taste of a truly great cup of coffee. Sigh.
But you also can't get hangry.
This is true.
At Staples Business Advantage, we help you select from 2,000 breakroom products, so you can be sure there's something for everyone.
Yum. Sign up today and save 20%.
Staples Business Advantage.
Business is
human.
I want people to understand this ordeal, it's taken a toll on both of us.
Casey Anthony's parents respond after 15 years of allegations.
I've gotten blamed for something I didn't do, and it tears me up inside.
This can change our life. This is serious.
This is their final response.
The test is about to begin. Please remain still.
Casey Anthony's parents, the lie detector test. Watch now, only on A&E. And watch next day on the A&E app.
Luxury is meant to be livable. Discover the new leather collection at Ashley with premium quality leather sofas, recliners, and more, all built to last. No matter how many spills, scuffs, or pet-related mishaps come its way, the leather collection at Ashley is made with the durability you need for the whole family. Shop the new leather collection at Ashley and find chairs starting at $499.99 and sofas at $599.99. Ashley, for the love of home.
All right, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know, should they check out Reality? It is on HBO and the app Max. Laura Bricker, what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down for Reality?
Yeah, this is a thumbs up for me. I thought this was a really unique way to approach this story using the actual transcripts from the FBI audio recording of this whole interaction that the FBI agents had with Reality. And it sounds on surface like this is going to be super boring. We've literally got 3 people, for the most part, in this that are the main characters in a really grungy room in the back of this house. But it really worked for me. And I think, the performance of Sydney Sweeney as Reality really pushed it to another level in terms of just the nuances that she brought to this character as she was recreating, what was in the transcripts. And I think, I think it's important to see this because there was one version of this story that we saw when she was first arrested in the mainstream media. And when you watch this and know that this is actually based on the transcript of the FBI interview with her, another story comes to light. And for me, it made me, that defense investigator in me, pretty riled up watching how it played out. But I think it's important viewing, and I think it was a good performance.
Toby Ball, what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down for Reality?
Yeah, I really like this. I thought it succeeded in several different ways. I think it succeeds as sort of an examination of the way in which the government goes about, at least in this case, talking to somebody who it has very strong reasons to suspect has leaked classified information. I thought sort of the techniques and the way that all goes was interesting. I thought the political undertones, which they play very, very subtly, but I thought that was interesting. And I think it also just works as like kind of a thriller, even though you know what's going to happen at the end. I at least felt like from the beginning, you just have this sinking feeling, like you just know what's going to happen to her, and you kind of watch it play out, and you can kind of see the calculations she's making about, what she thinks she can get away with and how things change as they go on. I don't know. I thought it was very compelling. I wasn't quite sure if I would think so, but once it started, I thought it was great. So I'm a big thumbs up.
Kevin Flynn.
I'm a thumbs down. I was really disappointed in this. I will say that Sydney Sweeney is amazing in this. I think that her acting is sublime. It's, very visceral. She says so much with her face, and she needs to, because there's really not a lot for her to say here. The whole idea of, using a transcript verbatim to be the basis of a piece of entertainment. I don't know why this was the one he tried to do it with, because I just don't think this went anywhere. I thought it was very boring. What we gain in verisimilitude, we lose in vision. And we don't really have a vision here. And I just find that as I just parse through this and thinking like, we don't even get to what this is about till 30 minutes into this. And that might be pretty short for an actual interrogation, but it's long for a movie that's an hour and 25 minutes. So thumbs down.
Huge thumbs up for me. I actually loved this film. I found it to be incredibly suspenseful, incredibly claustrophobic and close, which is kind of like, I agree with Toby that it has a very thriller-like feel in that way. And, the little elements of suspense that they bring in, such as the dog in the side yard, such as a dirty room that Sydney Sweeney is kind of embarrassed about, such as the fact that, she doesn't want to sit down. I mean, there's a very small elements that just, to me, added a very real, grounded in reality, for lack of a better word, sense of dread to a story that I thought I knew more about than I did. I think this film is better than the sum of its parts. And the sum of its parts, one of the parts that it has are just tremendous performances, especially by Sydney Sweeney, who I like very much as an actor anyway, ever since I saw her for the first time in White Lotus season 1. I know that a lot of Euphoria fans out there will be like, screw you, she's in Euphoria, but I know her mostly from White Lotus season 1. Anyway, big thumbs up for me for Reality. I would recommend go out and watch it. Now it's time for my favorite part of the podcast, a little something I like to call the crime
of the week.
The week. Now that drivers in Georgia can use their own selfies for their digital IDs, the state is reminding folks to put clothes on. A Facebook post from the Department of Driver Services asked people to cover up when submitting the pics, urging residents to, quote, keep it classy. The photos can be used for digital driver's licenses that you can use in your Apple Wallet and other products. Facebook users flooded the thread wanting to know if this was a real problem or just an ingenious way to publicize the service. The department won't say if they're actually getting spicy selfies, but as the kids say, pics or it didn't happen. So panel, if you were pulled over, what would the officer say when they look at your nude license? Laura Bricker, what do you think?
Oh my God, is that a ghost? Her skin is so white.
Toby, what would the officer say when they looked at your nude license?
I think it would just be sort of a sad shake of the head.
What about you, Kevin?
Sal, you really are driving a Ram.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm just going to leave it there.
Rebecca, care to comment on that?
Nope. Laura Bricker, if folks want to reach out to you and find out how pale you are on social media, how can they find you there?
They can find me at Laura Bricker, if they can see me.
Toy Ball, if folks want to reach out to you, how can they find you on the socials?
At Toby Ball and H.
Kevin Flynn, if people want to see your Dodge Ram, how can they find you on social media?
Kevin Flynn. No, Kevin P. Flynn. I took the P out.
And if you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you can find me at Reb Lavoie. Follow the show everywhere at Crime Writers On, and I encourage you to join our incredible community in our official Crime Writers On Facebook group. We also have a regular old Facebook page, by the way. Get episodes early and ad-free at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media. You'll also get the Crime Writers On After Show, Married with Podcast, Laura Bricker's Leave It to Bricker podcast, and Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcasts. Our theme song was composed and performed by Ty Gibbons. Our line editor is the very handsome Livy Burdett. The executive producer of this program is Kevin Flynn. This show was recorded in the Treehouse Yoga Studio above the Mockingbird Cafe in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi studio, otherwise known as Studio C, the closet in our New Hampshire basement, where we also just want to let the dog out and put the perishables in the fridge. Mm-hmm. On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you
later.
How's it going?
It's going all right. How are you doing?
Good. I survived the camping expedition.
I saw.
I didn't poop in a bucket or the woods. No.
No, it wasn't saving it.
Save it.
Why? Let's just talk about it.
No, I meant save the poop.
At Staples Business Advantage, our team of experts can help you find the break room products to satisfy everyone's preferences, while AI can
suggest popular items, monitor stock levels, optimize pricing, and automate reordering.
AI can do a lot of things.
But I can never know the taste of a truly great cup of coffee. Sigh.
But you also can't get hangry.
This is true.
Let Staples Business Advantage use today's latest innovations, plus our team's experience, to make stocking your team's break room easier for you.
Sign up today and save 20%.
Staples Business Advantage.
Business is
human.